Don't take the bait. Buyers are out there fishing for deals. They want to buy your business. And with the implementation of AI, the whole experience, the situation has been amplified where now your inboxes are getting clogged with emails, you're getting voicemails, even texts. So what happens if you get hooked? You take the bait. I want to talk to you a bit today about a couple of conversations I had with business owners where they did take the bait, they got hooked, and as you could imagine, the results were not very good. Didn't turn out great. Hi, everybody. My name is Keith, President of Osage Advisors. Welcome back to our podcast, Ins and Outs of Selling a Business, and this week's big hurdle. So the amount of interaction with buyers, both strategic and private equity, reaching out to you as business owners, hey, we want to buy your business, has really ticked up. We've had many, many conversations with current clients, with potential clients about how they've been, people are knocking on their doors. And a few situations I want to share with you this morning is really about where, you picked up the phone, you took the call, they hooked you, and you went into proprietary deal negotiation one-on-one with this potential buyer. So in situation one, they were getting ready to sell. They were actually in a position where they said, like, we need to make a decision to sell the business. And they got approached by what I would call a somewhat quasi-strategic buyer. Hey, we'd like to buy your business. This is before they went to market, just a conversation. They said, let's have a conversation. So they went down the road, and after several months, they got an offer letter from this buyer, from this strategic buyer. And what does that mean? Is it a good number? Is it a bad number? Is it a fair number? You don't know. You didn't test the market. You're not sure whether that's fair value in this market for your business. So they were smart. They reached out to one of their trusted advisors and they said, look, I think it's important for you, is get a reality check. Is this make sense? Is this the right kind of number? So thankfully they called us through this referral from the strategic buyer, and we got to know the owner. We signed a CA. We looked at the financials, and we looked at the industry that he's in, which is really attractive, hot market sector for buyers right now. And so we looked, he sent us the financials. We spread them out. We looked at the revenue trends, margin trends, looked at the growth opportunities, any customer concentration, everything we typically do for clients that we're talking to, kind of our current market value assessment. Like, let's see where the company will likely trade. We looked at our databases of we subscribe to. We looked at public comps. We looked at deals we've done in that market in the past. And we came back to them and we said, look, I think you could do better going to market. And which caught his attention. But he wanted to see if he can do a deal with this other company. So, and it's your decision. Look, it is your decision. It's your business. You've been 10, 20, 30, 40 years running it. If you want to see if you can make a deal work, that's your decision. We gave our assessment. We advised him where we think the market would trade. Happy to work for him. Would love to work with him, but he wanted to go down this route. So as I understand it, he went back to this buyer and said, look, I appreciate the offer, but I think my company's worth Y versus X, right? Dead silence. No response. And this happens a lot from my 25 years experience. They go dead silent because what they're trying to do is wear you down, right? Get you nervous. Am I going to blow a deal? The money I'm looking at, all these things start going through your head. So in this case, he hasn't heard back from him. And I got indication, last week, and this has been going on for a while. I got indication last week that, he's going to give him one more week. And if they don't come back to him, then he's going to give us a call and see if potentially engaging us. But in the meantime, right? I mean, you're waiting, you're trying to run your business, but you're distracted trying to sell your business. The stress level for you and your family is, through the roof. And there's so many unknowns out there that you're not sure what's going to happen. So that's one conversation. Now, I've had many, many conversations over the last several months with sellers thinking about selling, where they are inundated, like I said earlier, with this AI generated phone calls, everything, phishing expedition. So at the end of the day, I mean, do you really trust this buyer now? I mean, are they really going to come back with a number that's going to make sense to you? I mean, that's your decision to make. But my sense is that, he will make the, what I believe the right decision for him and his family, and go to market and run a process and bring multiple buyers to the table so he can make an informed decision where my company's value is today. That's one situation. The other situation is well, we see a lot, unfortunately. We talked to a potential client, and he was approached again by a potential buyer in and around his industry, and the synergy made a lot of sense. They were in this part of the market, he was in this part of the market. Putting them together just would create a real value proposition. So, and he was looking, he was tired. He spent years building this business. He has a family at home. He wants to spend more time with his family. In order to build out what he's done, he needs capital, right? Growth capital, which is typical. If he's got the XYZ, that next step is going to require, some additional capital, whether it's equity, whether it's debt, whatever. So he got into a conversation, and this guy was extraordinarily smart about the approach. He says, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this the right way. So he invested in bringing in his, what I call his CPA firm, right? Transaction advisory practice, to do what they call quality of earnings, sell side, which means that I want you to do a complete CAT scan and MRI on my business, because if I'm going to do a deal with these guys, I want to make sure there's no surprise. I want to make sure my numbers are clean, they're good, the add backs, everything is documented, etc. So it's it's an investment. It's a significant investment of time and money to do something like this. So they went down the road. And by the way, what do you think is going to happen here when you're trying to do it on your own? You got a business that's growing, and now you're trying to sell it. I mean, you are splitting your time, and it is difficult to do both on your own. Grow your business, run your business, and sell your business. You don't have enough time in a day to do it. So, I kind of, the stress, the anxiety, the pressure, kind of equate it to like, it's like the before and after picture, like when the president of the United States, right? They take a picture before, he looks like this, XYZ, dark hair, whatever. And then 4 years later, 8 years later, he's great hair and he looks like he's aged 20 years, right? That's the kind of analogy. There's just too much going on. You can't do it all. So he goes down this path, right? And he's invested in this time, money, energy. And of course, he's got to bring his people into it. They get to the finish line, and the buyer can't come up with the money. The question was really never asked. How are you going to finance this deal? How are you going to put this deal together? So legal fees, accounting fees, the intangibles of your time, the emotional stress, anxiety, pressure you've had in yourself over this lengthy period of time, and all of a sudden, they can't do the deal. And that's why don't take that hook. Don't take that bait. Don't let them hook you. Because more times than not, the deal that they talk about at the beginning of the transaction is not the deal they're going to present to you when you get towards the end of the transaction. They're going to change things out for whatever reason. And you've invested a lot of time and money. It could be 6, 9 months, a year or so. And again, you're not sure if this is the right thing for you. You're getting into an unknown situation, not knowing whether the value proposition they're presenting to you makes sense to you and your family. So it's important to test the market, especially now with the inundation of emails coming your way, phone calls, texts. A lot of it's AI generated. They don't even know who you are. They just know that you're in the NICS code or SIC code of whatever industry. So we're going to reach out to you and see what we can hook. And it puts you in a vulnerable position. Test the market. Hire a firm like Osage to run a process to get you to where the road you want to go to your destination on your terms. I'm going to speak to this often in future podcasts because my phone has been ringing off the hook with owners who've run into the situation. I gave you 2 examples. I could spend all day talking about other conversations I had, but test the market, do the right thing for yourself, for your family, and at the end of the day, you will know what the market says about the value of your business, and you can make an informed decision. Thanks for being with us today. Again, my name is Keith, the Osage Advisors, and this week's Big Hurdle. Have a great day.